Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and in today's video, we're going to be covering 10 things I wish I knew before I started playing Warframe. So first up, you can actually get everything in this game for free. I know that sounds crazy and maybe a little bit hard to believe because it's a free-to-play game. You're thinking to yourself, well, there must be a catch. There's actually not. Literally every single weapon and every single Warframe can be got in this game for totally free. So if you just started playing and you're like, well, I go to the market and I type in the name of a Warframe that I want and all I see is the premium resource platinum. Let's take Rhino as an example because he's one of the earliest frames in the game that you can get. So you go ahead and you type in Rhino and you're met with the amount of platinum that he costs, right? But then if you go ahead and you click into Rhino, you can see that you can purchase his blueprint for credits. So you can see on the screen that it requires you to get 25,000 credits, his neuroptics, his chassis, his systems, and some gallium. And you can get all of the parts for him as well for free. All you have to do to farm up Rhino's parts is go and get the blueprints from this mission called Fossa on Venus. You have to defeat the boss called the Jackal. And at the end of the mission, you're going to get one of the blueprints for one of his parts. So every single frame, apart from one of them, has a neuroptics, a chassis, and a system. So anytime you need to build a new frame, all you have to do is go ahead and get all of those parts, and then you can craft it with other resources in the blueprint. And the same can be said for literally any weapon in the game. So for example, here is the Cedo. It's unlocked at Master Rank 8, but it says here that you need 240 platinum to get it. It doesn't actually tell you here where you go and farm up the parts in the blueprint for the Cedo. But if we head over to Deimos and we go to Necrolisk, we go ahead, we press fast travel and we talk to Faber. Then we go ahead and we press browse wares. If we scroll down to the bottom, you can see here is the Cedo blueprint and all of the parts you need to actually get it. So the game just does a really bad job at communicating how you go about getting things for free. Now this could be by design, or it could just be because, you know, this game is a decade old and there's just a lot of stuff in the game and a lot of stuff that the developers haven't went back and actually like tweaked and polished and stuff like that. Even cosmetics you can get for free. So for example, you have this Day of the Dead chest plate and you can see that that costs platinum, right? You can actually get platinum in the game for free. You just have to be a part of a clan and you have to farm up items that other players are going to want and then trade them at the trading post. And that brings us on to the second thing that I wish I knew, is to join a clan as soon as possible. So like mentioned, whenever you join a clan, you're going to have access to the clan's trading post. Mine is all the way up here at the top. And if you go ahead and interact with this, if someone else is in the dojo with you, you can go ahead and initiate a trade where you can give away a part and then the other player will give you platinum or vice versa. But then the other thing is the clans all have these labs connected to them. So if you go ahead and pause the game and press fast travel, you can see the energy lab, chemical lab, bio lab, tenno lab, and Orokin lab. The energy lab, chemical lab, bio lab, and tenno lab all sell new warframes and even weapons. If you come to the tenno lab here, you can see that there is a bunch of like tenno-based weapons and a bunch of warframes that you can buy at the bottom here for credits. Then all the other labs, they basically have their own sort of like unique faction weapons. So the chemical lab, they're going to have Grineer-based weapons. This is the bio lab and it's got infested-based weapons. The energy lab has corpus weapons. And then the Orokin lab is a little bit different because this gives you access to these dragon keys, and these dragon keys enable you to open up corrupted vaults to get corrupted warframe mods and stuff. So those are basically mods which give you a really big positive benefit, but then also a negative benefit. So for example, we've got the mod Overextended, which gives you more ability range but less ability strength. You need to be in a clan to get access to trading, more weapons, more warframes, and even powerful mods to upgrade your weapons and warframes. So it's pretty important. So let's say you've been playing the game for a little bit and you get to a point where you come across an item and you have no idea how to get the resources for it. So let's just choose like literally any part in here. So let's take the Haymaker as an example. So the Haymaker blueprint says that it requires credits, Goblite tears, Travesite alloy, scrap, and recaster neural relays. And to a lot of newer players watching this, you're going to have no idea how to get any of these resources. Now what you can do is you can actually open up your in-game chat, just do a square bracket, and then type in the name of the thing that you need to farm. So for example, if I go ahead and I type in Goblite tears, you can see that it pops up here. I can go ahead, left click that, and press enter. Then if I left click the Goblite tears, we can read polished and cut to perfection, blueprint sold by Smokefinger in Fortuna Venus. So now I know to get Goblite tears, I need to get the blueprint from Smokefinger in Venus. So I'm already in Fortuna, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, pause the game, press fast travel, and I'm going to go to Smokefinger. I'm going to go ahead and press browse wares, and I'm looking for the Goblet Tears blueprint. And as you can see, the Goblet Tears blueprint requires Goblet. Now, how do we get that? The same story. I'm just going to go ahead, open up the chat, do the square bracket, type in Goblet, press enter. And then if we go ahead and we click, you can see that it says a strange crystal that grows inside the veins of extracted ore, found in the ore Vallis, Venus, from blue mining veins and from resource containers across the landscape. So now I know that I need to go into the ore Vallis, I need to look for the blue veins on a bunch of rocks and stuff like that, and I need to mine them. Now this only really works for resources and fish and stuff like that. So for example, the other thing that we needed was the recaster neural relay, right? So if we go ahead and we post that in, you can see that it is from disassembling recaster servofish. So now we want to learn how we get the recaster servofish. We just go ahead, type in recaster. So it says it can be found in the ponds around Venus. Now this isn't 100% accurate because there are other things that you need to keep in mind whenever it comes to getting the recaster servofish. For example, it needs to be cold, and it also needs to be a pond hotspot. So it's not as simple as just find a pond and just fish there. You also need a very specific type of bait, which the game doesn't tell you either. So for all of that information, you are going to have to go to a YouTube guide or a Wikipedia. This is something that Digital Extremes definitely have to fix. They have to be able to like accurately communicate like how you players do things within their game. And even this whole square bracket thing and typing in the name of something like that isn't communicated to the player that they can do that. Most of you probably wouldn't know that you could do that if I didn't tell you. Yeah, finding out how to find things in this game is a very big problem. But knowing the square bracket trick just makes it a little bit easier. So you're progressing through the game for the first time and you're struggling to complete master rank tests. Sometimes you fail them and you need to wait like a day to actually have another shot at it. What you can do is you can actually practice your master rank test by coming to the relay. If you go ahead, pause the game, press fast travel, go to Cephalon Samaris, then directly to your right, you're going to see all of these little sections here. And all of these are basically a mastery rank. So if I go in here, I can see that this is the Master Rank 12 test. I can go ahead, interact, and it's going to put me in. I'm going to be able to practice the test without actually having to consume my, my attempt for the day. So it's worth noting, you don't actually have to come to the relay to do this, to practice it. If you are about to do the test, in the bottom right hand corner, you're going to be able to see the button that just says practice. So you can go ahead and press that, practice the test before actually attempting it. And then that way, hopefully you finish it on your first try instead of, trying it, failing it, and then having to wait 24 hours. On the topic of increasing your mastery rank, to actually do that, we need to get new warframes and weapons. And at the start of the game, you start with 50 platinum. Now, you shouldn't be spending this 50 platinum on anything but warframe and weapon slots. And you can go ahead and do that by pausing the game, going to equipment, and then going to inventory. To buy a warframe slot, just go ahead and press the little warframe tab, then just press here and spend 20 platinum. And then to buy some weapon slots, go ahead to the weapons tab, just go ahead, press here and spend 12 platinum. You get 2 weapon slots and 1 warframe slot. You will be able to get more platinum later on for free via trading, so don't worry too much about this. Just having those extra slots at the beginning of the game helps you increase your master rank a little bit more because you can carry more items. On the topic of getting more slots, you should definitely be paying attention to Nightwave. Now, Nightwave is basically a free season pass in Warframe. And what you have to do is you have to complete these challenges to actually earn standing to increase your rank. So you see I need 10,000 standing to go on to the next rank. So I just have to come in here and complete one of these challenges that gives me enough standing so I can progress on. And then as you progress on, you're going to get a bunch of different rewards. And you can see here at rank 5, you actually get 2 weapon slots. And then at rank 15, you get a warframe slot. So very worthwhile to pay attention to. And there's even more rewards as well. So as you can see, I get all these credits. I can go ahead and press credit offering down here in the bottom right, and you can see all of this stuff here. What's most important here is the Orokin reactors and Orokin catalysts, as these are used to double the modding capacity of your warframes and weapons. So another important thing to know is how to actually get good rewards from the star chart missions. And to easily explain that, we're going to jump into a spy mission. So the rewards in Warframe come from these different drop tables, and the drop tables are segmented into 3 different categories. We have drop table A, we have drop table B, and we have drop table C. And basically you're going to get different rewards from these different drop tables based on the amount of objectives you complete. So for example, here in a spy mission, if I unlock one of the vaults, I'm going to get a drop from drop table A. If I unlock 2 of the vaults, I'm going to get a drop from drop table B. And if I unlock 3 of the vaults, I'm going to get a drop from drop table C. So if I open up all 3 vaults in this mission, I'm going to get 3 rewards instead of just 1. The same logic can be applied to something like a defense mission, except it's a little bit different. In a defense mission, if you survive for 5 waves, that's basically you completing one objective. So you get a drop from drop table A. If you complete 10 waves, you're also going to get a drop from rotation A. But then once you complete 15 waves, you're going to get a drop from rotation B. And if you complete 20, you're going to get a drop from rotation C. In survival, it goes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So that's A, B, C again. And that same logic applies to many of the missions in Warframe. It's normally A, B, C. So the first 2 objectives you complete are drop table A, third is drop table B, and the fourth is drop table C. Here in Spy, it's just A, B, C because, well, we only have 3 objectives to complete. But in endless missions such as defense, survival, excavation, interception, etc., it's always going to follow that A, B, C format. So I've unlocked all 3 of the vaults. We're coming to the end of the mission, and what we'll see is I'm going to get 3 different rewards. So I'm probably going to get a relic, a mod, and some credits. A, B, and C. Speaking of reward and rewards, fun fact, there really isn't that big of a difference between the regular version of a frame and the prime version of a frame. Now, the difference between a regular version of a frame and a prime version are minor stat increases. So for example, a prime frame might have more maximum energy than a regular frame. Nothing actually changes up about the functionality or the modding of the frame. So you can look at a build for the regular version of Vault and the prime version of Vault, and they're basically going to be the exact same build. The only other difference is the pre-installed shapes or polarities that come with the frame. So prime frames normally have 1 extra polarity, which means you have to spend 1 less forma to make a full build. And that's why I always recommend just getting the regular version of a frame, leveling it from 0 to 30 without investing into, Forma or Orkin reactors, something like that. And then just getting the prime version of the frame, if it has a prime version, and then investing your resources into the prime version rather than the regular, because it's going to cost less overall. And that's going to be a frame that you can keep for basically a lifetime. However, this is a lot different whenever it comes to prime weapons. A very obvious example is you have the regular Bratton, which you can get at the very beginning of the game. And then you have the Bratton Prime. Now, this is just such a big, significant increase in stats that the Bratton Prime is way more worth it than the regular Bratton. So prime weapons are definitely worth getting as soon as possible, but you shouldn't be stressed out about getting prime Warframes. Just pick up the prime version of Warframes whenever you've got the time. But if there's a weapon that you like, so say for example, you like the Bratton at the start of the game, don't worry about dropping the regular Bratton because you're going to be able to get the Bratton Prime much later and it's way better. But speaking of the regular Bratton, a very common question that I get asked by newer players is how do I make my weapons good, or how do I find the better weapon? And the cool thing of Warframe is you can pretty much make any weapon okay, at least star chart viable, by just throwing on the right mods. So for example, what I see a lot of players do is they like to just go ahead and try to throw on as many different mods as they possibly can without thinking too much about it. Or they go ahead, they press actions and they press auto install, and this is going to try to fill up every single slot. And it maybe isn't going to give you the best stuff. So for example, this only gave us cold damage and it gave us some unranked mods, which just isn't the best. Especially considering the inventory that I've got, it could definitely have done something better. But basically, you're going to get a lot of damage from your weapons by throwing on mods that efficiently increase your damage. So for example, this mod Serration right here is pretty good because this is just going to give you an overall damage boost. So if you're throwing on any mod onto your weapons, you definitely want to throw this Serration mod on. And then after that, you want to consider throwing on elements. So for example, I could go ahead and throw Infected Clip on here and it's going to give me toxin damage. And that's going to increase my damage by quite a bit because it's going to take these 3 numbers, the impact, puncture, and slash, and then add that on top. Then we can do the same for Stormbringer. Just go ahead, throw that on. That's going to combine with the toxin to make corrosive. And it does the same thing. It basically gives me damage the exact same way. It takes my impact, puncture, slash, finds 90%, adds it on top. We've got a overall damage increase. We've got 90% toxin and 90% electric based on the stats already on our weapon, which gets added on top to our total damage. And then we could go ahead and we could throw another element on. So for example, Hellfire, which is going to give us heat damage. The Bratton is a gun that you can get at the very beginning of the game. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this Bratton and I'm going to go to the last planet on the map. That's Sedna, and we're going to go to Adaro. This is level 32 to 36. And as you can see, with just those 4 mods equipped, I'm actually able to kill these enemies in this mission, even though it's the last planet on the star chart. So you can take even the worst weapons in the game and make them good. You don't have to get anything too fancy. You don't have to throw on as many mods as possible. It's all about just throwing on the right mods. And of course, increasing the ranks of the right mods by using Endo. And this last tip is going to save you guys a lot of time. So if you come to the star chart and you go to navigation and you go all the way to Earth, you hover over the Venus junction and then let the rewards slide a little bit, you can see that you get this thing called the Taxon blueprint. The Taxon is a little buddy that's given to you early on, and you can go ahead and craft him in your foundry for some early game resources. And basically what you're able to do with the Taxon is you're going to be given this mod called Vacuum. This is Vacuum right here, and as you can see, it says Vacuum 11.5 companion gather link, detects and collects items including mods. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to suck up resources and mods for you. This is going to make playing the game so much more efficient. Again, the game does not tell you to go and craft this little guy, and it doesn't tell you what it actually does. It doesn't tell you that it's going to make picking up resources and mods a lot easier. If you're a newer player coming to the game and I didn't tell you that, you wouldn't know it. So it's definitely worth showing it in this guide video. You just go ahead and throw it on like so. Then you can go ahead and throw on like a bunch of defensive mods just to keep this little guy alive so he sucks everything up for you. And that's pretty much it for 10 things that I wish I knew before I started playing Warframe. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe as it helps the channel a lot. If you want to get early access to my videos, you can become a channel member by pressing the join button beneath this video for $5 a month. Or if you want early access to other cool resources and behind the scenes content, you can subscribe to my Patreon for less than $5 a month. Consider clicking on the video on screen, and I'll see you guys in the next one.